It is my high honor and extreme pleasure to talk to one of my favorite YouTubers, science communicators, and up there among my favorite humans, because you're exceedingly charming, Inés Laura Dawson, who has a wonderful channel, Draw Curiosity on YouTube.
OCD, which stands for Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, is an anxiety disorder. And it's one that I think is quite underdiagnosed and one that isn't understood very well. And it can be very debilitating, but it's also got an easy and straightforward cure when you realize it. So it's one that would benefit a lot from having proper awareness around it.
My guess is that, like most things with living creatures, the symptoms of OCD exist on a spectrum.
Indeed. Obsessive-compulsive disorder has obsessions, which are generally characterized by lots of repetitive thoughts that are very hard to control, and then compulsions as a means to mitigate the anxiety caused from those thoughts. So an example of both that I think most people could be familiar with. Intrusive thoughts. I know lots of people, if say you're waiting for the underground or waiting for the train, some people might get the thought, oh, what if I just stepped out in front of the train? Or what if I step out onto oncoming traffic?
I have absolutely, positively, unequivocally had thoughts like that. And they are fleeting, but just to your point, absolutely.
But a person with OCD might worry that this thought means something about them. They might mean that this means they're going to act on that thought, or they become concerned that the thought is going to become reality. So because they dwell on it, the thought keeps coming back because you're giving it this importance that it shouldn't have.
You're saying that OCD is an anxious overreaction to the kinds of intrusive thoughts that many of us have. Your particular area of neuroscience passion is not human neuroscience, but because you have an acute interest in this particular malady, have you neuroscienced OCD?
I don't know if it's been 100% proven how it works. People think it's an overactivity in I think it's the limbic system, so the area of the brain that processes emotions, primarily fear. So it is thought that that area is overactive, and because it's a slightly older part of the brain, it's easier for it to override perhaps the decision-making areas of the brain. So it's when you're really afraid of something, you're going to fight or flight response. You're trying to find a solution for this imminent danger. But in the case of someone with an anxiety disorder, and in this case OCD, it's highly attuned to things that aren't dangerous.
Certainly many people in my generation would definitely not broadcast to the world that I had some mental illness because I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
I remember feeling ashamed when I found out. And then I was also ashamed that I felt ashamed about it because I realized that, you know, there was no reason for me to think that way. I clearly had a preconceived notion about it. I think people have these ideas of OCD being more about enjoying tidying or liking things in a particular way or being pedantic. And they don't necessarily see it as an actual anxiety disorder or a scary thing. So it's almost trivialized. People just think it's that, or people just think that someone washing their hands, it's just because they want to be clean. But they don't realize the detailedness of the intrusive thoughts and particularly the anxiety that comes with it. So it's not that they enjoy doing that or that they feel satisfied after doing that. It's their way of running away from this really scary thing.
You said that you were embarrassed when you were diagnosed. As you know, we humans like when our uncertainty is reduced. So
Yeah.
Wasn't there some satisfaction in there being a name for what you were feeling?
Because OCD is so stereotyped, it took me a long time to consider that as an option because I just thought, oh, OCD, that's about cleanliness. I'm not afraid of germs. I'm a biologist. I don't know what's wrong. But then I went to the doctor and to them it was pretty clear what was going on.
Did you say that there's a pretty simple cure?
Maybe not simple, so it does require time and effort. But there is a very definite way of managing it. Antidepressants actually work pretty well. They reduce how anxious you feel. You're still getting the thoughts all the time, but your body's a bit more chill about it. So physiologically, you're not responding to them anymore. And so that means you can actually start to focus more on changing your responses to those thoughts, which is ultimately what will help you to overcome or at least manage the OCD very well. And then the thing that everybody with OCD needs to do is what's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and ERP, which is exposure and response prevention. That's very similar to the treatment you have with phobias. Let's take the classic example of someone who's washing their hands all the time. Maybe at first you will just ask them to wait a bit longer. Instead of washing hands as soon as you have that urge, wait a couple of minutes and then do it. Or if you're washing your hands for 2 minutes, just try and wash them for 1 minute. And then it will be about gradually making the trigger a bit scarier. So maybe then you're going to ask them, I'd like you to touch something without a glove on. I'd like you to touch a bin, or, whatever it is that that person's really scared of, gradually building up to that moment and delaying performing the compulsion. It's about sitting through it and actually allowing your body to naturally then bring the anxiety down, which sends a different message to the brain, which is, you thought that was scary, but actually nothing's happened to you, so maybe you can relax a little bit more.
OCD makes more sense to me just hearing you talk about it. What do you want us, outside of the OCD community, to know?
I don't like it when people say that they're very OCD about something when it's, it's not an adjective and it's not what's going on. So perhaps understanding a little bit better what it actually entails. One of the biggest lessons that OCD taught me properly is how differently people can think and experience the world, even within themselves and in the same lifetime. So being more open to that and perhaps perceptive of what other people might find hard, even if it isn't a struggle for you. And it helps you to understand individual differences between people a lot better. And I think also it is very likely that people in your life will go through something similar at some point. Maybe not OCD, but perhaps anxiety, perhaps depression, perhaps a different mental health condition. And knowing, even if it's just knowing how to research that or finding out how you can help someone without, accidentally being unhelpful or falling into stereotypes, is probably very helpful. So if it's not just for learning for yourself, for learning and helping others.
When I think about learning and helping others, I think about Draw Curiosity. I certainly appreciate you taking some time away from producing content for your fabulous channel, Draw Curiosity. Inés Laura Dawson, thank you so incredibly much. Thanks for the great work that you do. Thanks for being so helpful and such an excitable ape for neuroscience.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.